Hello, today is Monday the 16th of March 2026 and you're listening to the Unofficial British Artists Top 20. Later in the show I'll be reviewing the new album from Harry Styles, which is called Kiss All the Time, Disco Occasionally, and telling you what my British Single of the Week and International Single of the Week is. Firstly though, here is this week's Top 20. At number 20, it's Sky Newman's Walk, down 3 places, only new entry last week. At number 19, also down 3, it's Miles Smith and Niall Horan with Drive Safe. We actually have a new entry in at number 18, Bebe Rexha and Faithless with New Religion. And at number 17, it's Fleetwood Mac, down 2 places with Landslide. Charli XCX falls 4 places to number 16 with Dying For You. And Ewan McVicar goes down 1 place with Share the House. RAYE's Nightingale Lane is at number 14 this week, down 5 places. At number 13, it's Sonny, Fodera, DOD and Baskcomb with Think About Us. At number 12, Sienna Spiro is up 1 place with Die On This Hill. And at 11, Charli XCX is down 1 place with Chains of Love. Here's your top 10. At number 10, it's Olivia Dean with The Hardest Part, which is down 2 places. At number 9, down 3 for RAYE with Where Is My Husband. At number 8, it's Dave and Tems, down 1 with Raindance. At number 7, Olivia Dean, Man I Need is down 3 places. Olivia Dean is also at number 6 with So Easy to Fall in Love, also down 3 places. And Pink Pantheress is at number 5. Down 3 places as well with Stateside. We have a new entry at number 4 with Ready Steady Go by Harry Styles. At number 3 it's Aperture, also by Harry Styles, which is up 2 places on last week's chart. At number 2 is last week's number 1, Sam Fender and Olivia Dean with Rein Me In, down 1 place. And we have a new entry at this week's number 1, Harry Styles with American Girls. So that was quite an interesting chart this week. I mean, the first thing to say is, although it's sad that Sam Fender and Olivia Dean have been knocked off the top spot at number 1, where they've been for 3 weeks, both in my chart and in the official chart, it's quite nice that they've been knocked off by another British artist, Harry Styles, with his song American Girls, which, again, is number 1 in my chart and the real chart. So actually, British artists have spent 8 out of the 11 weeks there's been a chart now at number 1 in the official chart. So that's very, very good. I don't expect that to last, but so far this year there've only been 3 weeks where it's been an international artist number 1, and they're both Americans, being Joe and Taylor Swift. To have a quick look at the rest of the chart. So firstly, Sky Newman with Walk only came in last week. It was my British Single of the Week, actually. That's down already, down 3 places. It'll probably drop out next week, which is a shame. Miles Smith and Niall Horan have been around for 5 weeks, but that's kind of nearing the bottom of its life in my chart now, I think. We have a new entry for Bebe Rexha and Faithless. Now, Bebe Rexha, hope I'm pronouncing that right, is not a British artist, but of course Faithless is, and my rule is as long as one of the named artists on the track is British, it can go into this chart. So New Religion is my first new entry this week at number 18. 17 is just Fleetwood Mac. Again, it's hanging around because it was used in Stranger Things. Charli XCX has still got 2 songs in the top 20, in my top 20, but I'm a little bit disappointed. They've fallen quite quickly. I was hoping they would prop up, the British contingent in the official chart, and that doesn't seem to be happening. And I think my theory about that is it's actually a really good album. I have listened to the Charli XCX Wuthering Heights album. It's good, but it is very different from her other stuff. I think it's a better album, actually. I think I've said that before. But it doesn't seem to be doing the numbers, unfortunately. Another real disappointment is RAYE dropping down 5 places with Nightingale Lane. So I was really hoping that would... I really like it. It's like many of her songs, the more I listen to it, the more I like it. But unfortunately, it's dropped 5 places in my chart. And it's dropped, I think, something like 18 places in the official chart. So it came in last week at number 20 in the official chart. And I think it's at number 38 this week. So I'm sure it'll just about be on my chart next week. But it's such a shame because I think it deserves better than that. And then obviously the really big bit of news is at the top end of the chart is that Harry Styles has, Aperture has leapt back up. So of the top 4, 3 of them are Harry Styles tracks. And in fact, you get the impression it probably would have been more than that. As I must have mentioned before, there was an occasion a few years ago where Ed Sheeran released an album, and I think it had 10 tracks on it. I may be wrong, don't quote me. But out of the top 11, 10 of them were Ed Sheeran. It was a bit silly. So they limited it so you could only have 3 tracks by the same artist in the chart. So Harry Styles is at number 1 with American Girls, and number 3 with Aperture, and number 4 with Ready, Steady, Go. Now, they are the first 3 tracks on his new album, because album tracks now count, which is contentious. I kind of get it, but I'm not sure if I like it. But yeah, it's a shame in a way that they've limited the number of tracks by the same artist, because we would, if it was purely based on sales, then I think we would have actually probably quite a lot more of the tracks in there, which would be good for the British music representation in the chart, but bad because it would be quite a boring chart. You've still got 3 tracks by Olivia Dean in there. It's a bit of a weird chart actually, because what basically has happened in the main is you've got 3 new entries and a lot of the other stuff has been knocked down by 3 places. I was quite disappointed for Pink Pantheress because she seemed to be on the ascendant. And I did think there was a chance that track, I didn't know if it would get to number 1 in the British chart, in the official chart, but I kind of was hoping she might get a number 1 in our chart. But, well, never mind. So yeah, a bit of a strange one. As I say, my biggest disappointment, I think, is what's happened to RAYE's Nightingale Lane, which is a lovely song. I urge people to listen to it. I urge people to buy it. Down for the number, let's have a quick look at the numbers, sorry. So the songs that have left the chart this week, Kate Bush's Wuthering Heights only achieved number 17, I say only, but it achieved number 17 as its highest position and was only in for 2 weeks. Calvin and Harrison Kasabian, again, highest position, number 15, and it's been in the chart for 2 weeks. And I think it's split weeks. I have a feeling it came in 1 week, then went out, then came back in. And the same with Haven featuring Caitlin Aragon, though that's been in for 5 weeks. But again, I think that was split. I think it dropped out for a week, then came back in. And that was I Run, and that's highest position it got to was number 9. Whereas some of the other stats are a little more encouraging. So, top 10, 7 of the official top 10 are British. That's 70%. That's up 20% on last week, and it is actually our best showing since I've been tracking this. This is the 7th week. The top 20, it's still only 9 out of 20 tracks. So basically, you've got the top 10, which has got 7 British artist tracks in it. Then the next 10 have only got a further 2. So that's 9 out of the 20 are British artists, which is 45%, the same as last week. And then the top 40 is only 16 out of 40, which is 40%. That is up a little bit on last week because it went as low as 15 last week. So it's up 2.5%. But that's still a little, it's not as good as it was at the beginning of the year. At the beginning of the year, the first chart I did, the one that inspired me to launch back into this actually, we had 21 out of the 40, so slightly more than 50% of the music in the official top 40 was British artists. The bottom actual chart position for a British artist that's in my top 20 is number 50 this week. So Sky Newman's Walk, which is number 20 in my chart, is number 50 in the official chart. Now that's a bit better than last week, because last week my bottom track was at number 57. So that's gone up a little bit. So that's interesting. Now I'm not quite sure if we've got anything stellar that's going to rock the charts this week. So obviously we did quite well with Charli XCX. It hasn't been as massive as I thought it would be, but it's still done all right when her album came in, propping up the British contingent. I can't work out whether Harry Styles is going to be around for a long time or not. He was always going to be big this week, but I suppose the staying power of those 3 tracks are really going to inform how successful this album has been. So it'll be interesting to see if next week Sam Fender and Olivia Dean go back up to number 1 and the Harry Styles drop off, or whether they'll still, have a really strong showing in the top 4. Who knows? Anyway, I haven't finished talking about Harry Styles yet, because as well as having 3 out of the 4 top 20 British artist singles, he's also got, believe it or not, the #1 album. So now I'm going to review his new album, which is called Kiss All the Time, Disco Occasionally. Now, when it comes to choosing an album to review each week, I have a fairly loose process. Sometimes I check the chart history of the British artists who are releasing new material and try to get an idea which one is going to do the best. Sometimes it's an artist that I'm already interested in, I just fancy the album. For example, last week's offering The Mountain by Gorillaz. And sometimes you just know that an album is going to be stellar and there really is no other choice. Kiss All the Time, Dance Occasionally by Harry Styles falls under that category. Now I have to confess that I've never listened to a Harry Styles album before. Obviously I'm familiar with a large number of his singles, especially anything released since I've been listening to the official chart over the last 6 or 7 years. So the first thing that I realised is that he's a pretty damn good songwriter. He's not short of an analogy or metaphor within the lyrics, some which are obvious, like the song Pop on this album, and some that I had to look up. For example, I assumed that Aperture, which contains the lyrics We Belong Together, was a lament for lost love. In fact, fan consensus seems to suggest that it's about his former bandmate from the One Direction days, Louis Tomlinson, and therefore is a lament about his lost or strained friendship. The music video to this song would seem to back this up. Firstly, it was released on the same day that Louis released his album, and also the content. Harry's in a hotel room trying to phone someone and not getting a response. He goes for a walk inside the hotel and is stalked by a mysterious male figure who attacks him, but then they do some strange synchronised dance routine. It's a really great video, but if the speculation about its meaning is correct, it definitely implies an underlying melancholy. In fact, there is a lot of material on this album that could be described as sombre or wistful. Ready, Steady, Go seems to be about a rather intense relationship with a woman who doesn't share the deep feelings and suddenly calls it off. The Waiting Game is on a similar theme. This one is about being in a relationship with someone whilst emotionally staying on hold in case someone better comes along. Dance No More is about wanting to escape a life where you feel as though all you do is perform for others, when what you want to do is experience a normal life alongside everyone else. And the penultimate song, Paint by Numbers, seems to look at the consequences of extreme fame. It's not all doom and gloom though. Coming Up Roses is a rather gorgeous pop ballad about choosing to live in the moment rather than worrying all the time about the future. Pop, as a song, switches from the standard 4/4 time signature to a 4/3, and as a result has a very different feel to the rest of the tunes on this album. It's also Harry being a little naughty. When I saw the track title, I assumed that it would be about pop music. Having heard the lyrics, it's fairly obviously filthier than that, but it is a really good song. Potentially a future single if they can make a video that isn't X-rated. Either way, it's 3.5 minutes of fun and innuendo. There's also a song on here called Season 2 Weight Loss. Whilst I would quibble with the title, we call them series over here, Harry, rather than seasons, don't become too American, the premise for the song is interesting. Harry has said that it's kind of a mission statement for the album. It's an analogy about when a TV show has become an unexpected hit in season 1. So when the actors come back for season 2, they've all got a nutritionist and a trainer, and suddenly, to quote Harry himself from an interview he did with Zane Lowe, everyone looks amazing. That's what it was like for him. He felt like he was coming back as a stronger version of himself, so it's not necessarily a negative analogy. The album has a wonderfully dependable feeling owing to the fact that all of the songs were created by the same team. They're all written by Harry himself as well as Thomas Hull, a British record producer who produces under the name Kid Harpoon, and an American producer and songwriter called Tyler Johnson. Hull and Johnson also have production credits on every track, meaning that you feel like you are listening to a work that has an internal structure and consistency. It feels like an album, not a compilation. It's not all perfect. One of the things I loved about the Gorillaz album last week that I forgot to mention in the review is that the tracks allow themselves to tell their story in a time appropriate to the material. The shortest song on the Gorillaz album is just over 2 minutes and the longest over 7. I love that. Harry takes the much safer approach on this album of the 3-minute pop song format most of the time. There is some deviation. Aperture comes in at just over 5 minutes, but I would love to hear what Harry would do with a kind of rambling pop classic. This is a very minor criticism, by the way. The album is very listenable to and upbeat, despite several tracks having a gloomy undertone. It's going to be massive. It stormed in at number 1 of the official album chart, and the official top 4 singles contains 3 of the tracks. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would, and the 2 music videos, the already mentioned Aperture and the more recent release, American Girls, are lavish and expensive looking in a way that could only be afforded these days by someone confident that the songs are going to do very well. I may even go back and listen to Harry's House's previous album on the strength of this glorious effort. Now, when it came to choosing what album to listen to next week, this is difficult, and I'm going to use a new method to choose this. So initially I went through the list of new albums out this week and didn't recognise any of the names, so I had to Google all of them to work out how many British artists there were in them, and it turns out there's quite a few. So next week we have the album, Paris in the Spring by Alexis Taylor has been released. Where the Time Slows by Ben Ellis has been released, The Wake by Foy Vance, Trying Times by James Blake, and South London Lover Girl by Ms Banks. Now, what did make this a little bit difficult when trying to do research on the artists, because what I was going to try and do is work out if there was one here that was going to be obviously bigger than the others, it didn't help that the official Top 40 website has actually got the artist and the title the wrong way round on their website. So when they list it, apparently Paris in the Spring by Alexis Taylor, they've got Paris in the Spring listed as the artist and Alexis Taylor as the title of the album, which is no bloody use to me whatsoever. And also with Ben Ellis, not only did they get it the wrong way round, they actually got the album title wrong as well. But anyway, I digress. So I'm not going to do Ben Ellis's album because it's actually an EP. There's only 5 tracks on it. So what I'm going to do instead is ask a certain assistant, a certain electronic, what do you call them, virtual the AI assistant to choose which of the remaining 4 albums I'm going to cover. So I'm literally going to say hey and the name of the assistant and ask it to pick a random number between 1 and 4. So if it's number 1, it'll be Paris in the Spring by Alexis Taylor. If it's number 2, it'll be Foy Vance's The Wake. If it's number 3, it'll be James Blake's Trying Times. And if it's number 4, it'll be Ms Banks' South London Lover Girl. I will actually obscure the name of the personal assistant so that when listening to this, it doesn't make your personal assistant chime in. Hey, here is pick a random number between 1 and 4.
A random number between 1 and 4 is 3.
Okay, so it looks like the album I'm going to be reviewing next week is Trying Times by James Blake. One last bit of business before I finish the show. I'd like to tell you what my British single of the week is, and it is Harry Styles' American Girls. It's for 2 reasons. 1, I like the song. 3 reasons. 1, I like the song. 2, I like the video. And I really wanted to put the BB Rexha and Faithless song, New Religion, in there. But when I listen to it, it's basically Insomnia by Faithless with all the best bits taken out. So, yes, Harry Styles is the British single of the week. And then international single of the week, there's a cracking little song by Bruno Mars just coming to the charts called God Was Showing Off. Great title, great tune. Anyway, that's me for this week. I'll be back next week with my review of James Blake's Trying Times and the new Unofficial British Artists Top 20. Thank you for listening.